Dallas Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy holding his end-of-season press conference today. HQ taking you there to listen in.
How would you characterize your meeting with Jerry yesterday? Was it talking a lot about you in the fifth season? Was that a brief part of it? It was like, hey, what are you looking for? What do we need to do here?
It was a long meeting. I think we went probably a little bit past 3 hours. We talked about a number of topics. The first topic was obviously the disappointment of the ending of the season. Went through all the layers of that. Then we talked about, pretty much everything in the football program.
So it was more looking forward and just what happened and then what initially.
Yeah, I think it. We went the whole course. Went back through. Things that we felt may have factored, and like I said, the disappointment component had a lot of layers to it. So we went through all those layers, and then we talked about personnel and coaches and everything involved. So business affairs, and so like I said, it was a long, productive conversation.
I know a lot of veteran coaches in your position. Feel it's important not to go into a final year to want an extension. Can you talk about working without an extension in this final year and any complications?
Well, I think the biggest thing is, and I've been asked this for 20 years or ever how long those questions pertain. I've never talked about a player's contract, coach's contract. I'm not going to start today, but I will say I am very confident in the direction. And I like where we are, as far as moving forward. So I'm very confident where I am.
Clarence, before we start talking, Pete, talk about what the last few days have been like, and for you and your family with the uncertainty. If you felt there was some uncertainty regarding your future, and is there a sense of relief, focus? Where are you now mentally going forward?
Professionally, this is what I do. And it's tough, no doubt about it. I think when you have the opportunity to sit down and talk to every player, every coach, that's what Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday was, and then really shifted from the player exit interviews right up to, the conversation with Jerry. To say it's not emotional would, of course it is. I think it's being Captain Obvious. But yeah, the family part of it is the only part that concerns me. Everything else is, I have great confidence in, who I am as a man and, who I am as a coach. But the personal part of it is a challenge.
Just going forward, what's the mindset? Obviously you refocus as relief on where you are going forward.
I'm focused on the press conference right now. So, I have a job to do. So, and, obviously I think all of us spend as much time as we can with our family. So, nothing's changed for me.
Mike, Todd Archer with ESPN. What needs to change with this team, organization, staff to get past?
Todd, it's still raw right now. I'm still a little bit numb. It doesn't matter what year you're in, the level of success you have. My experience and really my approach has always been, you're going to have changes, you're going to have adjustments, and you're going to have emphasis. And, starting with the emphasis, there's a lot of things that were accomplished, so we want to make sure we can try to build off of those. We're always going to adjust, whether it's, staff responsibilities, players responsibility, scheme, all those things. And, and then changes is really part of that adjustment, how big of a change you need to make. So, we're just getting started.
What's the biggest regret from what happened on Sunday?
Biggest regret? Well, not winning the game. But yeah, we haven't, the coaches have done their evaluations, and, I got those last night. So I'm still working through it, and I've had some conversations. I'm going to a meeting from here. But yeah, I think the disappointment is just not playing to your standard of play. And you go through the whole regular season, you establish a standard of play, a standard of productivity, approach, and all those things. And one team played to their standard, and the other didn't. And unfortunately, we didn't. So, I'm very disappointed in our performance and just not playing to our standard.
Joe. Joe Trahan, WFA TV. Mike, because the performance was so far below expectations, and you talked that you got reports from coaches and everything, do you try and tweak the way you evaluate it because it was so far below what you expected? Are there any things that you could do different in your evaluation process to try and get to the bottom of what happened?
I'm not sure what you're talking.
You have a certain way that you evaluate any game. Do you think, hey, listen, because that was so far below or so out of the ordinary for what you would expect, do you think about trying to tweak the way you evaluate it?
I look at evaluation process because I think the biggest thing is, the way, when you build a football program, from my approach is, you have education, education, how are you going to do it? And then what you're going to do is the application of it. And then you got to have a healthy, strong, well-oiled evaluation process, and from that you have things that you put buckets in. So, and those buckets, have goals and statistical, filters that give you direction and make sure you're looking at. Statistics don't tell the whole story, so that's not what I'm saying here. But I think it clearly gives you a light to shine on and make sure you lock into those things. And the hard part about coming in here right now is, there's a tremendous amount of motion, in all of us right now. And, you have to get the emotion out of that to have clarity in your substance of how you're going to move forward. You got to learn from it, and then how you're going to grow. So then you got to swing back around. Now you got to educate again, then you got to apply it. And that's, that's a process. So the evaluation process that we'll go through is, I guess you would say it's tweaked because you're applying it to different people. It's never the same. I guess to answer your question.
And then just a quick follow-up. Will you go back to the Bills game, to the 49ers game, to try and find common denominators for that kind of performance from your team as you move forward to look for answers?
No, absolutely. And that's the insight that you're always is always part of your evaluation. No, absolutely. The negatives in those games are definitely at the forefront of what we got to be better at.
John Michaud of The Athletic. Mike, obviously the fan base is really frustrated. What is your message to them about, moving forward, why this team can eventually have that playoff success?
Well, we have an unbelievable fan base, and they should be frustrated. We're extremely disappointed for them, disappointed in our performance. But my message would be this: we have established a championship program. It's just not the world championship yet. We know how to win. We know how to train to win. We have the right people, but we have not crossed the threshold winning playoff games. And it's extremely disappointing to be sitting here talking about it. But I know how to win, and we will get over that threshold. I have total confidence in it, and that's why I'm standing here today.
And then with the trajectory you had at Green Bay, winning the Super Bowl in year 5, do you see this program that you've built here being on a similar path?
Yes. There you go. Thanks, John. But didn't expect a layup today, that's for sure. I think you build a program and you continue to grow from it. But the reality of it is you have to go through the tough questions and make sure you have answers. And the reality of it is this team's going to change. We're going to have changes. It happens every year. Just start with your roster. So 25% of our players will be different than what they were this year, and that's and frankly that's part of the disappointment because I thought we had an unbelievable team. I love the way these guys work, their connection and belief in one another. They're very coachable. When you kick them in the ass, they responded, and they love one another. They love one another, and I think that's important. The chemistry, and so there's so many good things, but we clearly came up a lot shorter than we anticipated.
John.
Calvin Watkins, Dallas Morning News. How difficult were those exit meetings with your players?
I'll tell you, they're amazing men because the thing that just always blows me away is just how strong they are. The discipline in their emotion and the ability to express, and I think part of that too is, you start, and every day is different, because Monday's the veterans, So those conversations are more in depth, deeper. A lot of brutal honesty there. So they do a good job of giving me plenty to think about and to look at. And then you have the mid group, the mid guys, years 3, 4. And and then there's a little more there, and then there's a little more. This is what I need from you moving forward, and so forth. And then the last group's the first year players and the free agents and so forth. And it's more, taking some of the things you had in days 1 and 2 and applying it to the conversation. So. I started doing it back in '06. I don't even recall why, but every time I do it, it's a grind, but it's so productive. But there's a lot of strength and confirmation that comes from those conversations, and I applaud our men for that.
When you talk with your assistants about who you want to bring back and those kinds of things, when do you start that process?
Yeah, we'll start that probably end of next week. Some of those conversations will be preliminary right now. So we're just kind of moving forward in that direction. Obviously, this is the time of year when there are other opportunities, and so we'll work through that. I mean, the obvious is Dan Quinn's situation, so we'll just continue to work through that on a day-to-day basis.
Ed Werder, ESPN. Mike, to what extent in your meeting with Jerry did you have to make a case or an argument for him to continue forward with you versus him recognizing the value after your 4 years of partnership?
I wouldn't view the conversation that way. I think clearly, it started off with the peeling back the layers of what went wrong and the disappointment. And then frankly, it got to where Jerry and I were one-on-one. And frankly, the best meetings I have is with Jerry is one-on-one. I can't. They're super productive. I mean, he's an awesome boss, but he's even a better leader because he asks all the hard, direct questions, which I love and appreciate, because you get to a depth in you get into conversations that go in different directions, but there's always so much that comes out of it. And I'm just trying to go back through the conversation to answer your question. So we talked about everything, the right, the wrong, the indifferent, what we need to build off of, and so I don't know if there's much we didn't talk about as far as topics, that apply to the football operation. So, it's a conversation, hard conversation, definitely throughout a number of points there, but it was. They're conversations that I personally always look forward to, because I've never walked out of a one-on-one with Jerry where I didn't think I was better, one way or the other.
And regarding Dan Quinn, if he doesn't get a head coaching job somewhere else, is the assumption that you bring him back here?
Dan's a highly valued, member of our coaching staff. So, but we'll go through the process here.
Okay. I ask this question as respectfully as possible, Coach, but I've heard you talk about why fans should buy back into this team. Why should they buy back into you? And then as a second part of that, I think talking to players, it was clear they wanted you back, but what was some of their feedback for you moving forward?
Their feedback for me? I'm not sure what you're asking.
Maybe some feedback in those evaluations.
Well, the feedback's on every topic, every category that I talked about. So I think it's the confirmation of how we operate here. There's training, there's expectation, there's the development physically, the development mentally, and the development emotionally. In the emotional realm, you're always chasing, because of the different maturity levels and different backgrounds that come into your culture each and every year. It's that's definitely the arena that's the most challenging, and definitely is something that we'll continue to focus on and definitely need to learn from this past experience.
And why should fans buy back in to you as the head coach of this team?
Yeah, because I believe that the direction, the leadership, everything is in place. And I'm not very comfortable talking about myself, but I came here to win a championship. I didn't come here to get another contract or anything other than that. I came to Dallas to win the world championship, and that's why I'm standing here and buy into us.
Scott with the AP.
Dallas Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy speaking to the media at his season-ending press conference, and you heard it there. He came there to win the chip, and that's what he plans to do. I mean, he did it in his 5th year in Green Bay, so maybe Jerry Jones is banking on that same success happening in Dallas. The Cowboys have won 12 games in each of the last 3 years, which includes 2 NFC East titles, but only have 1 playoff win to show for it. According to the numbers, they're the NFL's first team to win 12 games in 3 consecutive seasons and fail to make the conference championship game in any of them. They're turning the page towards next year.